Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha, and today I'm going to be talking to you about all of the historical fiction, contemporary, and romance books on my physical TBR. Talk to you about all of the unread books on my shelves, and today I wanted to compile these three sections together because I only have a small amount of books. Jovi, I don't know if you guys can see her. She's like, Mom, give me attention. Hi, baby. You want to say hi to the people? Say hi, people. So like I was saying, I don't have very many books in each of these genres, so I decided to go ahead and put them all together, and I will break this video up into different parts. That way, if you're more interested in one genre than the other, then you can go ahead and skip to that part. Let's just go ahead and get started with historical fiction because I only have 4 historical fiction books on my shelves that are like adult or young adult historical fiction. So the first one that I have here is one that you all may recognize because it's been around for years and years, and that is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. So I've had this book for a really long time. If you can see how it's yellowed, you can tell that I've had it since high school, which has been at least 10 years or more since I've had this book. And I've never gotten around to it. I've picked it up and started it multiple times, but it's just never felt like a book that really drew me in. But it is one of the most beloved historical fiction books out there, and so I really wanted to hold on to it and see if I ever would get to it. It's a book that I've debated on unhauling at times, but I do still have it. I don't really know what this is about. I just know it's set. Oh, there's like drawings in here. Where did that go? Okay, so I had no idea that there were like pictures in this book, but there are apparently sketches, so that piques my interest. But like I said, I don't really remember what this is about. It is set in 1939 Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier and will become busier still. So I believe this is about a little girl, and it's narrated by Death, but I don't really know anything else about it. If I didn't already mention this at the beginning of this video, I'm not going to go into super detail about all the different synopses of these books because I'm just going to tell you why I have them on my shelves, why they piqued my interest. So I don't know a lot about this one. I just know it's well loved, and that's why I've had it on my shelves for this long. The next book that I have is The Daughter's Tale by Armando Lucas Correa, and this book really piques my interest because it has an element of letters. This is not written in letters, I don't believe, but I really like books that are written in letters or that feature letters, which is why this one initially piqued my interest. And this is I think it's set, I don't know if it's set in dual timelines or if it's just taking place in one timeline for a little bit and then it jumps to present and that's it, or if it goes back and forth. But this is about a woman who lived in Nazi Germany. She was in Berlin in 1939. And she's in a situation where her bookshop was just burned down. Her husband has just been sent off to a concentration camp, and she is forced to make this really tough decision for her children. I think there's a possibility of her going one direction and having to send her kids off somewhere else to keep them safe. And then you have today, which is going to be New York 2015, and you have 80-year-old Elise Duval who gets this box of letters sent to her in the mail, and they are letters that are actually from her mother. So this just brings up all these horrible memories and grievances she experienced during the war, and I don't know, I feel like this is going to be a really hard-hitting one, but I'm very excited to read it. Once again, we have a book that has something to do with letters, and that is Last Christmas in Paris, a novel of World War I by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. I'm really pumped for this one. I'm hoping to get to it this Christmas, but I believe this one is written, it looks entirely in letters. It may not be entirely, but I think this is written entirely in letters, which I love. Again, I've read The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Marianne Schaefers and Annie Barrows, and oh my goodness, that is one of my favorite historical fiction books of all time. Not that I have a lot to go off of because I haven't read a lot of historical fiction, but that one is hands down my favorite. So I'm really hoping that I'm gonna love this one as well. And I don't really know what it's about, except that it's about Christmas time in Paris. There's this man who is like revisiting these letters that he has that he wrote back in 1914, and it was between he and this woman who had a friendship, but it developed into more. And now, decades later, he is finding himself in Paris again, determined to fulfill a last promise, and lay to rest the ghosts of the past. But one final letter is waiting for him. I just feel like this is gonna make me sob, and I'm here for it. And the last historical fiction book that I have is Montauk by Nicola Harrison. I've had this book for a little while and I'm not quite sure if I'm still as interested in it as I was, but I do want to keep it around just in case this does end up being a book that I fall in love with. I know that it has a little bit of a slower pace, which is why I haven't picked it up, because those books typically don't pique my interest as much, but when I'm in the right mood, they really do grip me. So this is a book that is set in Montauk, I assume. Yes, in Montauk, Long Island in 1938. And it is about this woman who, I think she comes from, I don't know if she comes from richness or something. I don't know. Either way, she is married and her husband is just kind of honestly like, they go to this place and he blows her off. So she starts to kind of fall in love with the beauty of Montauk. This is set at a like summery, beachy type place. So I feel like this would be a good book to read during the summer. Unfortunately, I am never really drawn to pick up historical fiction in the summer. So I don't know when I'll get to this one. But anyway, she starts to be a little bit more connected to the natural environment here and just like taking a slow, easier life. And she ends up meeting a man who seems to, I guess, kind of like draw out the more important things in life and take things a little bit slower and not be so obsessed with high society like her husband is. Which I don't know if there's a cheating trope in this. If you've read this, you can let me know in the comments. Just put that there's a spoiler and put some spaces down so it doesn't affect anybody else that are viewing the comments that don't want to know. But I assume that might be a thing, and that's not really my favorite thing, but I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna have a good story behind it, and I know of people that really enjoy this book, so I've kept it around just to see if I'll ever eventually get to it, because I feel like it could potentially be a book that I fall in love with. The next section I have is going to be contemporary books, and I think some of these could possibly fall into other genres as well, but overall they scream contemporary to me, which is why I put them in this section. First up, I have two books that are books about books or books about bookstores, and the first one is The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zavine. And this one is about A.J. Fickery, and he owns this bookstore, but his life is not at all what he expected it to be. He's experiencing the worst sales in history, and now somebody has stolen his rare collection of Poe poems. And so anyways, he ends up finding this package on his doorstep, and things start to change from there. Then I also have Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and this is about Mr. Penumbra's bookstore. This boy named Clay starts to work there, and he's kind of confused as to what this bookstore is and how it keeps running, because nobody ever seems to buy anything. There are very few customers, and those that come in only seem to check out books from this certain section. They aren't like actually purchasing books. So he and his friends start to investigate, and they find out that Mr. Penumbra's bookshop has more secrets than what meets the eye. So these are my two like bookish bookstore type contemporary books on my list. Then I have two books in a series. This is 13 Little Blue Envelopes and The Last Little Blue Envelope by Maureen Johnson. I initially picked these up because I had read something else by Maureen Johnson and I really enjoyed her writing, so I wanted to give it another try. This is about a girl named Jenny, and she is spending her summer vacation backpacking across Europe. Her Aunt Peg passed away, and she ended up leaving her these letters with money and a passport and a plane ticket, and told her like to open these letters at different places. And I guess she's kind of trying to inspire her to live life to the fullest. I'm not really sure, but it just sounds like a really cool, adventurous story, and I love the fact that there's letters in it once again. So this is the first book and then the sequel, and I think these are young adult books as well, so I just haven't gotten around to them yet, but they still sound, I don't know, they just sound really fun and adventurous again to me. Then I have The Dinner List by Rebecca Serrell. I picked this up because I read another book by Rebecca Serrell. You guys might be familiar with her book In 5 Years or One Italian Summer. In 5 Years is the book of hers that I read, and I really loved that one. I am not interested in One Italian Summer, but this is one of her backlist titles, and this one sounds really interesting. It is following the concept of, you know how people ask you if you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would you choose? This kind of explores that a little bit. So you have this main character who is asked this question. She shows up to dinner one day, and Audrey Hepburn is there, and other people are there, like her ex-boyfriend, Tobias. She just gets to have dinner with these people and kind of explore why they're there and what their purpose is, the reason behind why she chose each of these people to accompany her. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really interesting concept. I think it's a book that will make me think about, like, why would I choose the people I would choose? What connections do you have with people? Why are you drawn to certain people? what does it mean for your life, and kind of like, I feel like it's going to be a mind thing. This reminds me of something like The Midnight Library and how it explores, or like Matt Haig books that explore like your psyche a little bit in all of this, and I feel like that's what this is going to do, so that's why it piqued my interest. Speaking of Matt Haig, I do have one of his books on my list. This one is The Humans, and all I really remember about this one is that it's about, I think, these aliens, or an alien that observes humans, and it's supposed to be kind of like this humorous, dark comedy story, and I'm not really sure anything else about it. I feel like some people love it and some people don't, so I'm really not sure where I'm gonna fall on the spectrum. But I am nonetheless interested in this one, and I love, like I said, books that kind of explore the psyche a little bit, so I'm interested to see what this one's gonna be about. And the last 3 books in this section are all Katrina Leno books, and I think some of them are contemporary, and then some of them may not be. Like, for example, this one, You Must Not Miss. I'm not sure if this falls under contemporary or if it's more like psychological suspense thriller horror ? I don't know, but I put all these in the same stack just because I feel like they are a little bit more on the contemporary side of things. I do feel like this is a book that has some magical realism elements in it, but it is about this girl named Magpie, and she has had not the greatest life, and so she kind of thinks up this world called Near, and one day Near appears in her backyard and she goes into it, and it's a place where all of the messy things in her life kind of seem to subside. But then I think one day Near takes a dark and twisted turn, and that's where it goes from there. I love the cover of this book. The original cover never piqued my interest, but this one is just wild and crazy, and I absolutely love it. And I think it's a revenge story as well, so I'm excited to see what this one's going to be about. Then I have The Lost and Found, which is, again, also by Katrina Leno. It says, sometimes you have to get lost before you can be found. And this is a book about Franny and Lewis, and they met on this like online support group for trauma patients, or people who've experienced trauma in their lives. And one last thing happens to each one of them, and they set off on this journey to find themselves, find lost things, find each other. So they've never met in person before, but they've always kind of been attached to each other, and they've kind of been able to lean on each other in these times in their lives. So this just sounds like a good one. I don't know if there's a romance in this or not, but like I said, again, I'm just kind of putting this in the contemporary genre because it seems to read a little bit contemporary from the synopsis. And then the last Katrina Leno book, and the last book in this section, is going to be Everything All at Once. And this says 24 dares, 3 weeks, take the leap. I really want to read the back of this for you. It's not necessarily the synopsis, but it's the letter that the main character receives in this book. And I think this is just a really good gripping statement to pull you in. So it says, my dearest Lottie, here's how it will work. What if your aunt was a famous writer and she left you a series of letters in her will? Open these letters in order. What if they contained mysterious instructions? Would you follow them? Do not be overwhelmed by sadness. Would you leap off of a cliff, trust your heart to a boy you just met? It won't do you any good. What if the letters were leading you toward a secret? Eventually, I think something interesting will come out of all of these. And one epic choice you never saw coming. Love, H. So this to me sounds like the same vein of the 13 Little Blue Envelopes. So this is by her aunt, again, who's passed away. She dies of cancer, and she leaves Lottie these series of letters to take her on these different adventures. So I have 2 books that sound very similar, and I don't think I ever realized that until just now, putting them side by side. But I guess that would be cool to like vlog and do a comparison, since these are really similar. Let me know if this would be something you'd be interested in, and I can like weigh them up against each other and see which one is the better of the 2. And the last section that I have here is romance. So let's just go ahead and start off with The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is a book that I had seen a couple of years ago before I'd really seen anybody talking about it, and it's been on like my Amazon wish list for a really long time. Then this year I saw a lot more people reading it, and I was like, okay, I just need to go ahead and get it. So I did, but I still haven't read it yet. So I'm not really sure what it's about. I'm a little nervous because it's been said to be a little bit steamy, and you guys know smut is not my favorite thing, but something has always really drawn me to this book. I'm not quite sure what it is, so I guess we're gonna see if I enjoy it or not. But it's about this girl who goes off to Alaska to, I think, see her dad, and she ends up falling in love while she's there. That story reminds me of another story, and I can't remember what it is. But there's some other movie or something where this girl goes to see her dad and she falls in love while she's there. But I can't remember what it is. If you know, let me know in the comments. But that's basically all I know about this one, and it just sounds really cute and really good, and I've really been wanting to give K.A. Tucker a try. The next book I have is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I read Beach Read earlier this year and enjoyed that one, so I definitely wanted to pick up People We Meet on Vacation. Don't know anything about this one. I kind of want to go in a little bit blind. I just know it's about these two people who I think they were friends before, and they end up going on vacation together. Like, they used to go on vacation together all the time, and then they didn't, and now they're going again. I don't even know. But it's friends to lovers, or second chance romance, which is my favorite romance trope. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a new favorite. I feel like of all of Emily Henry's books, this is the most likely to be my favorite of hers, just because it does have a trope that I enjoy. Next, I have My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. This is a book that I've thought about unhauling before, but I haven't yet, because I have enjoyed every Christina Lauren book that I've read. I've read Love in Other Words, which is my favorite of hers. I've also read In a Holidays, which I gave 4 stars, and I really enjoyed that one as well. I am currently reading The Unhoneymooners, which I'm enjoying so far, and then I just kind of want to read more of her books because I feel like I do enjoy their writing. Sorry, this is an author duo. I think I've been saying her, but it's an author duo. And I've really enjoyed their writing, so I wanted to pick up all of their books. I'm not sure if this is going to be my cup of tea. I don't know what trope this is, but clearly there's a half night stand in here. I have not read the synopsis to this one in a long time, but I know there are like text elements. So I think that's a really cool element to have in a book. You can see like the different people that like the different text conversations going on. So I think that's pretty cool. Don't know when I'll get to this one, but that is why I picked it up, because it's Christina Lauren. Next, I have a couple of more Christmassy books. So the first one is 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Louise, which actually is not Christmassy, it's just wintry. I believe it's set in March. Lauren from Lauren Love Reads read this book and loved it and raved about it and really convinced me that I was gonna love it too. So I believe she actually, she bought this for me, and it means a lot that she did, because I feel like I'm really gonna love it, and it's a gift from a friend. So don't really remember what this one's about. It's a snowy evening in January. I thought it was set in March. I think most of it's set in March, maybe. But anyways, it says it's set in January here. I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I believe it is about this girl who gets like trapped in a blizzard or something. Like, it looks like her car gets stranded, and she meets a stranger, and they are stranded together maybe, and then they part ways. And it's one of those like serendipity situations where they meet and then they go their separate ways, but they always think about each other and want them to come back. That's another trope that I like. I don't know what that trope is called. Let me know in the comments if you know what that trope is called. But I love that, where like people meet, just like this uncanny little meeting, and they fall in love at first sight, and then they go their separate ways, and they can never stop thinking about each other no matter what happens in life. Like, that is another trope that I love. So that is also a reason that I'm really excited for this one. Then I have another Christmassy book that was gifted to me by Liv, and I'm very excited for this one. It's called A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh. This is a book that I got on my radar a little too late in the Christmas season last year, but it's about this girl. Okay, y'all, it's like, I think it's second chance romance, or at least like friends to lovers, or you were friends in school, but then you don't like him, and now it's like a potential romance situation. I don't know. I'm just so excited. But it's about this girl who's like having to go cross country to like back home, and she ends up having to ride with this guy who she is not a fan of. It was her childhood crush, but she's not a fan of him anymore. This is like 10 years ago that she liked him. She's convinced that he can never change, and he's like trying to prove to her that he has. And his name is Will, which is my husband's name. And I'm just like, could this book get any better? And it's short, and I'm just really excited to read it this Christmas. Speaking of road trip situations, I also have another book that has a cross-country road trip. This is a young adult novel that I heard about a couple of years ago, and I still haven't picked up, but it is The Geography of Lost Things by Jessica Brody. This is about a girl whose estranged father has just passed away, and now she's having to go cross-country on a road trip to, I think they're like foreclosing on his house. She ends up having to go with her ex-boyfriend, Nico. She's not a fan of him. But along the way, he starts picking up all these random things, and she starts to believe that these things that he's picking up along the way from different people are not so random after all, and they start to maybe uncover a truth about her father or something. So that just sounds really interesting to me, and that's why I have it. And the last book is going to be The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, which I have had probably since before I even started BookTube, because my friend Christine had read this book and really liked it. She was my first BookTube friend or Bookstagram friend before I even got started on Bookstagram, and this is one of her favorite books. So I really wanted to pick it up and read it, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm not sure if this is something that I like or not. It's like the forced proximity trope, I believe, where this woman and this man both end up sharing a flat, and I'm not really sure anything else about it than that. It's been a while since I've peeked at the synopsis, but that is basically the trope. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. I've heard mixed things about Beth O'Leary. I think her writing may be a little bit slower and a little bit more literary than some other romances, so I don't know if I'll vibe with it or not, but it's one that I've really been wanting to get to for a really long time. And that's it. That is all of the books that are historical fiction, contemporary, and romance that are on my unread shelves. Maybe I'll get to some of these before the end of the year, but I definitely will not get to all of them, because we know I'm going to buy more books or I'm going to read other things, and I have probably 300 books on my shelves that I've not read because I have a problem. But it's okay. They make me happy. That's what matters. It could be drugs, right? I mean, it could be drugs. If you made it this far in the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit the like button down below and the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications whenever I post a new video. Thank you for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.